And now that we've thrown AI into the mix here, people think they see all this stuff. They see people trying to flog these phone systems and things like that to them. And that's going to be the golden goose for them. And it's not. It never is.
Stop buying shiny AI tools. Matt Jones reveals how to fix your tradie sales system.
Problem is the system. You need to make sure that you have these things built out off the back of what seems to be the obvious problem, which is generate more leads, generate more conversations, but in truth it isn't. A quick thing before we jump in. The SiteShed podcast has crossed the 500 episode mark. 500 amazing conversations with business owners, operators, and experts, people that have been in the trenches. And we're super proud of every one of those conversations. But here's a stat that gets me. Only 16% of our listeners actually follow the channel, which means the vast majority of you are listening without us even knowing that you're there. Following the show helps us keep making things better. It shapes the content. It signals what works, what doesn't. And honestly, it matters more than most people realize. If this show has helped you even once, helped you think differently, helped you make a better decision, or just maybe helped you feel less alone in running your business, please hit follow right now. It'll take a couple of seconds and it does mean a lot. And if you really want to make my day, you could leave a review. For those of you that have been here since the early days, you've been part of that journey to episode 500, and we thank you so much. We don't take that lightly. And if today is your first episode, welcome aboard, buckle in, and enjoy the show. Now, let's get into it. Right now, every tradie and contractor on this planet are being sold an AI robot to answer their phones. And most of them are about to waste their money. Not because AI doesn't work, it does work. It's because they're trying to bolt it into a crappy system. In this episode, I'm going to show you exactly when AI does work with phones and it makes you money, and when it just helps you lose jobs faster. Here's the pitch every tradie's hearing. Never miss another call. Phones answer 24/7. Jobs while you sleep. Sounds great. You set it all up and then it all falls over. The reality is the missed call is not your real problem. It's what happens after the call that leads. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The missed call was never your problem. It's what happens after the call. That's the problem. Leads don't die on the phone. They die in your inbox. And we see this all the time with clients we're working with. They come along thinking that this is like a bit of a Hail Mary scenario where this one technology that we can deploy will save everything. But then they completely drop the ball on everything else that needs to happen off the back of the lead being generated in the first place. As the director of a marketing agency, I can tell you it's so unbelievably common for businesses to not have a lead problem, to have a system problem. And now that we've thrown AI into the mix here, people think that, again, they see all this stuff. They see people trying to flog these phone systems and things like that to them. And they reckon that's going to be the golden goose for them. And it's not. It never is. The problem is the system. You need to make sure that you have these things built out off the back of what seems to be the obvious problem, which is generate more leads, generate more conversations. But in truth, it isn't. So where AI genuinely wins for trades is in the following areas. First of all, speed to lead. Now, this has never changed. In fact, truthfully, nothing that we're talking about here has ever really changed. The one who answers the phones and gets back to them quickly typically wins. Now, you might be saying, yeah, that's great, but the AI will answer the phone for me. Yes, you are right. And in instances where you can't answer the phone or another human can't answer the phone, another competent human can't answer the phone, you should have an AI answer it. That is an absolute layup. But all I'm saying to you is if you are completely dependent on that, you're going to be setting yourself up for some serious disappointment. AI does a terrible job of the qualification. It can do like high level qualification, but when you're trying to get deep into discovery, I'm yet to see it work. It's okay with capturing names, emails, phone numbers, that kind of thing. Although it screws that up all the time. And look, if you haven't had this experience, then half your luck. I dare say it's coming. But hello, how can I help you? What should I call you today? Call me Matt. Okay, Mark. Well, what are you inquiring about? It's like, for fuck's sake, really? How hard is it? So the after hours phone call capture is, again, a great example of where AI can be a genuine win for you. If you're busy with the kids, and you should be, or doing other things after hours, then you need to make sure those calls are being answered. If you don't have like some sort of call service or after hours, call taking, or truthfully, even sometimes when you do have those things in place and the phones are just busy and the call comes in, you still need to get answered, and AI will serve that purpose. We set that up for businesses all the time. Just don't depend on it, and don't buy into this bullshit that you hear out there about it being the one savior of your entire business. It really isn't. It is designed as like a bit of a hybrid system, okay? It should help you with follow-ups. Now, roughly 70% of the jobs that are booked into the first deep discovery session happen after the 8th point of contact. Most of you guys statistically give up after the second. So I'm not suggesting that you have an AI robot calling these leads for you. In fact, I encourage you to not do that. However, you can use some of these AI tools and automations to prompt humans and remind them, or just set up, notifications and things like that, so that you do get back to them. I need to call Bob tomorrow about his solar install. I need to call Sally on Thursday about blah, 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 whatever it might be. So it doesn't always have to be client facing. And truthfully, I think a lot of the smart operators out there are facing their automations and notifications and AI inwards to notify people to go and do things, so that it just doesn't get lost in the ether. Where AI consistently backfires, like I mentioned before, deep qualification. It does not do deep discovery very well, for so many reasons. Like for the fact that it can be sycophantic, for the fact that it doesn't really, it works off a knowledge base and it doesn't apply common sense to conversations. There's so many reasons. And again, prove me wrong on this, but I'm yet to see a system that does it very well. We have built out the most in-depth knowledge-based skill files and all those kind of things for ourselves and for other businesses, and it still doesn't have the same level of experience that you would with a human. Just is what it is. I'm not saying that it won't get there. I'm just saying right now it isn't there. So something that requires like judgment is typically something that's going to need a human touch. And look, let's be honest, when you're dealing with, quotes that are in the tens and hundreds of thousands, you really do want to have that layer of judgment put in by a human who, again, is competent, but at that level. You need to have a system behind it. Like the AI will consistently book poor quality leads into calendars. It will annoy people. I mean, I am perpetually annoyed by AI systems. I just literally got off an AI system with my bank. It drove me crazy. Like, just put me through to a human. Like, how many of you do that? You just pick your phone up and 11111. Just give me a human, right? Like, I'm sick of talking to this shit robot that doesn't know anything and keeps repeating itself. If you're leaning on AI for quoting, just be very careful. Like, we've seen businesses do this really dangerously, I'd say. Like, I won't even say bad. It's just like you can really come unstuck. Like, it's fine to kind of give people, I guess, sometimes like an overview of what a price might cost from an estimate. But, my opinion on that, truthfully, is if the lead hasn't been properly qualified in a discovery call with a person, why disclose prices? All you're letting yourself, all that's happening is you're going to get price shocked, right? There's no real accountability there. There's no relationship being built. It's just not really what we see in the space of conversion. And I'll run through some stats in a minute with you, but it's just something that doesn't work very well. Quoting chaos, let's call it that. And the other thing is, like, while that system is running, it's very hard for you to fix the process, fix the actual sales process. When you've got humans in there and you can train them, and yeah, you can train AI, I understand that. However, it's because it kind of does its own thing and it runs its own agenda and it's working towards its own outcomes. It's very hard to turn screws on it the way that you would have with a human. And maybe that's because of the fact that, it doesn't have that common sense layer and it doesn't apply just, that general knowledge and things like that. I don't know, but it just doesn't really work very well. So an AI, basically installing AI into a broken process is really like, I would say, a line in the sand for you. You want to make sure that you have the process well defined. Quick pause for a second. If this episode's hitting home for you, do us a favor. Please give it a follow on this app. And if possible, please share it with someone that you think would also benefit. This podcast was brought to you by Tradie Web Guys, where day in, day out, we work with tradies and contractors that are looking for predictable, manageable systems to close more jobs and scale with consistency. It's a proven system that's focused on closing more jobs, not just generating more leads. We have loads of case studies and reviews on the website to back this up if you want to go check it out. If you like the sound of predictable, manageable, and consistent growth, click on the link in the description or head to tradiewebguys.com.au and start the conversation. All right, back to it. And then throughout the different stages, you can deploy automations and technology and AI and all that kind of stuff into various areas to improve those different stages. So like a real example of this, right, is a solar business that we working with in Sydney. They when they came to us a little while ago, they had basically AI was doing everything. It wasn't. It was doing nothing. The reason they came to us is because they went and bought this whiz-bang AI system, and it was essentially a bucket of shit. Their conversions at the time, so within this scope, what they were essentially trying to do was get people booked into a calendar call with a person, which is not wrong, except it was AI trying to do it. And their conversion on that from new leads into those calls being booked was 2%. So they were spending a lot of money on lead generation through various avenues, and their conversions really weren't great. So when we saw that, and we were like, okay, hang on a second, this is fractured for sure. Like we want to remove these flashy, shiny objects, and we want to be able to put things in that we know is going to work. So we put humans back into their business. And like we provide those humans, we call them sales executives. We put the sales executives back into the business, and they then started managing the calls. Now, we still had AI in the system. If the humans couldn't get to the calls, or if it was after hours, the AI would pick it up. But primarily throughout business hours, the humans would be the ones making the calls, and they would be the ones triaging the conversations, booking the discovery calls, and then essentially from there progressing the call into quotes being generated and site visits booked and all that kind of stuff. The conversions went from 2% to 77%. So you can argue with me all you want in terms of what your AI can and can't do, but the reality is at the moment the conversions are better when you have a proper process in place. There's a hybrid model as opposed to all in on something someone's trying to sell you on Instagram. So what I'm going to show you here is a process, right, which you can adopt for your leads. Now, for you guys that are listening to this and not watching, it's okay. I'll make this available within the show notes. Just head across to the siteshed.com and dig up this episode, and you'll be able to get access to this. And it will also live in the academy if you're a member there. However, this is a process that shout out to a buddy of mine, Dave, from Systemology, who sort of came up with what he calls a critical client flow. And essentially what it does is, and you can apply this to every area of your business. And what I mean by that is when you map out a flow of the various parts of any given offering, service, product, delivery, whatever it might be, when you have it clearly defined throughout the different stages, then you can start improving those stages or systemizing as it was back then. And now it's kind of, okay, do we, as part of this systemization process for this step, do we need to automate something? Do we need to deploy an AI? Do we need to deploy a new technology or a new tool or a new software? Do we need to bring a human in? What does it actually look like? I guess fundamentally, if you have something drawn out, you can evolve that and you can map it and you can improve it. If you're sort of just shooting from the hip and it's kind of all in your head, it's very hard to turn screws on something like that. So to map out your current process, like how the leads come in, where your leads die, and then just kind of figure out, okay, well, which part of this operation can we turn screws on in order to get a better result? So what I'm just going to show you here again, so just follow along for you guys that are listening to this and not watching. And if you do want to watch these episodes, by the way, guys, you can head across to YouTube and you can subscribe to the channel, because all these podcasts do go on YouTube. And if you want more agency-specific content, you can head across to the Tradie Web Guys YouTube channel as well. That is a lot more deep dive into agency stuff, and you'll see similar content, but the Tradie Web Guys YouTube channel is more about, this is what we are doing, and this is what we know works, with clients that we're working with in the sales and marketing space for trade businesses. The SiteShed podcast, if you've been following this for a while, tends to be a little bit more general. But anyway, so this is what I've got mapped out here. The first step is capture. So we want to make sure that when you're generating conversations of any sort, they are getting pulled into a centralized location where everybody within the business that needs to have transparency over those conversations has so. So we call this a CRM, and you might be familiar with that term, customer relationship management software. It's kind of more lead management software, to be honest. And so the point of it is to take a new lead and be able to have calls recorded, text messages saved, emails within the one system. So if one of your team members needs to know, okay, what's the status of the conversation with, Sally, they can log in, they can go to Sally's contact record, they can see all the conversations, they can see all the calls transcripts, they can listen to the recordings, they can see the SMSs, they know exactly where they're at, where they're up to. And you can have opportunities built out for each individual, multiple at a time if needed. So say Sally was after a 6 kilowatt solar system or whatever, you can have that as an opportunity that you can move through different stages of a sales cycle in order to manage that lead efficiently. And yes, some of those stages you can automate. Now, just at this point, I would say be very careful of over automating. I've been guilty of that myself. You can over technologize things, if that's a word, I don't know. But yeah, the next thing is, okay, once those leads hit the CRM, they would be assigned to an individual, and a human, ideally, especially if it's in business hours, should be either answering that call or getting back to them within 5 minutes. The conversion rates of you answering and returning a call within 5 minutes as opposed to 1 hour is something like 80x. It's wild. And I guess put it in perspective, right? If you're operating a service business and somebody's calling you because their lights have gone out, or the sewers are surcharging or something like that, if it's reactive especially, they're not going to wait around for you to call back. They're just going to go to the next person on Google and call, or in ChatGPT today, and contact them. So speed to lead is absolutely paramount. There is nothing that will move conversions faster than speed to lead. Of course, if it is after hours, or if you're on the phone, which is okay, the AI should be able to pick that up, and as soon as you're available, it will give you a notification of who called, what they're after, a bit of a summary, and then you can just go and call them back. So you'll see there, we've got on this diagram, I've got human working in the hours, AI after hours. So it's just to give you an idea of when and where these things pick up. Then you want to be able to pursue it. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, most trade businesses give up after 2 attempts when it comes to leads. Or more importantly, what happens, and this is really, really common, and again, through no fault of anyone specifically, typically when businesses start exploring the world of cold traffic as a means to help them scale to the next stage, they normally are coming out of a space where they've built to where they've got to through word of mouth and referrals. Now, the problem with that is you'll never get a better lead or conversation than a word of mouth or a referral, ever. So when you start applying the same kind of call tactics and the way you handle leads to cold traffic with people that don't know you, don't trust you, haven't come through a reputable contact, it's a very different conversation. And we see all the time people you just get me the leads and I'll close them. And I'm like, you don't understand. This is very different. It's a very different conversation when you're dealing with cold traffic, and there's a formula that needs to be applied there. The point is, you can't give up after 2 attempts. When we are applying this system into businesses, we are at a minimum contacting these leads twice a day for a minimum of 5 days, with humans doing that, right? So, and it's astounding how many of these leads actually pick up the phone and get booked into a quality discovery call after day 3 and after day 4. It happens all the time. So yes, you're probably thinking, this sounds like a lot of work, and how am I going to do that when I'm up a ladder? It's exactly right. How are you going to do that when you're up a ladder? This absolutely does demand the attention it deserves in order to get the result and the outcome that you are looking for. And you are not going to be able to do a lot of these things on your own. Your time needs to be audited, and time best spent, we see typically for business owners, is doing the things that an agency can't replace for you. You need to be the one out there building that rapport, face-to-face transactions. You should be out there closing those jobs. You should be out there dealing with the team, training, quality control, all of these kind of things. That is time well spent. Triaging leads and things like that, qualification, disqualification, although it's vital and very important, probably not time best spent for you. So move them through the pipeline. Day 1, 2 attempts. Day 2, 2 attempts. Day 3, 2 attempts. And you just keep going until you get hold of them. And just keep in mind, if you think that sounds really spammy, these people have contacted you because they have a problem. Quick pause for a second. If this episode's hitting home for you, do us a favor. Please give it a follow on this app. And if possible, please share it with someone that you think would also benefit. This podcast was brought to you by Tradie Web Guys, where day in, day out, we work with tradies and contractors that are looking for predictable, manageable systems to close more jobs and scale with consistency. It's a proven system that's focused on closing more jobs, not just generating more leads. We have loads of case studies and reviews on the website to back this up if you want to go check it out. If you like the sound of predictable, manageable, and consistent growth, click on the link in the description or head to tradiewebguys.com.au and start the conversation. All right, back to it. You're not spamming them. They were the ones that spammed you first. You're just actually responding and giving them what they're asking for. So don't feel like you're doing them an in-service or disjustice or whatever it might be by not contacting them. You need to be contacting them. Qualify. So the discovery call is the most important part of the sales process. I can't tell you enough. That whole discovery call dynamic is an absolute game changer once you've got it dialed in. And what it actually does, what it should do, is disqualify. You don't want to be, not every lead is going to be a win. In fact, we have a very deliberate formula when we're running cold traffic with, clients, and we can see if we've had this many leads and this many discovery calls that have led into this many site visits, something's not being done right. Those numbers just don't add up. So the point of a discovery call is to get the details. It's to let them know about are they within your service area? Do they have the budget for the project that they are asking you for? Because there's a level of ignorance there with these products and services that people just genuinely do not understand. That's not their fault, and that is your opportunity to educate them about that. But that's kind of a different conversation. So anyway, book them into the discovery call. Make sure that is the next step. And then once we're triaging, qualified, disqualified, if they're qualified, if they understand the things that are going to help them get this job over the line, the price is a big one, the location, the time frame in which you can do the installation, they're kind of the main ones. If you can take those off the table before you go to a site visit, then that's a huge win for everybody, because inevitably the goal and the KPI should not be site visits. The KPI should be jobs closed, cash collected. Don't get them mixed up. We see all the time businesses that they incentivize their CSRs to be booking site visits. That is not the goal. You should strip that right back. The goal for the CSRs should change to jobs locked in, deposits paid, and that is it. So that means you'll be going out to less site visits, but the ones you go to, you've got a higher chance of closing. When we're running this process for clients, our clients are consistently closing over 90% of their site visits into jobs. They're doing less site visits than they might have been when they came to us initially, but the ones they go to, they're crushing. So that just gives you an idea of how powerful the discovery phase is. And this is where a lot of businesses tend to stop. Once the job has been done and the job has been booked, they stop communicating. Now, you're 85% more likely to retain a customer than you are to gain a new one. And I want you that to sink in. You're 85% more likely to retain a customer than you are to gain a new one. That should hit you like a sledgehammer. Don't stop communicating. If you've done a good job there, and I'm sure that you do, you have an opportunity and obligation to educate and nurture and further plant that flag deeper and deeper and deeper as the trusted advisor within your vertical, within your area for your thing. If you're not doing that, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're doing your customer a disservice, because inevitably when they are looking for a solution that you provide, which they might not even know about, then you've dropped the ball there and they've had to go find someone, which is a time suck for them and a money loss for you. Don't stop communicating. It's one thing I just cannot drive home hard enough with our clients. You have this amazing opportunity with you guys. You do these amazing projects. And although you might think they're boring as batshit, they are absolutely not boring to people that are interested in these services. So if you go out and do a hot water heater, that's fine. Do the hot water heater, but then make sure they understand that you also can do drain management. You can do roof repairs. You can do whatever it is, right? Air conditioning, electrical work. Make sure they know. So it's not a given. You don't have to be a pest about this. When we talk about nurture, I encourage you to attack nurture with the angle of education. Be useful, be relevant, and be frequent. Useful, relevant, frequent. What does that mean? Send out things. If you've done a new project, you've put a new system in, there's a new technology that's come out to market, tell people about it. It's super cool that they could have a solar system where you could put a new inverter on their system and it could improve the output by X. Like, people do want to hear about that kind of stuff. You just have to get it to them, right? And again, if you're their trusted advisor, you're the ones they're turning to for this information. So go ahead and do it. So anyway, that is an overview of what that sales flow would look like there, the lead management flow. Again, head across to the website, thesiteshed.com, and you can get access to that. If any of this has been useful to you, and I hope it has, and if you want to explore this conversation more, if you want this whole sales and marketing design mapped out for you, we do this through what we call an impact roadmap session. And if you head across to tradiewebguys.com.au, you'll see the links to that. Book it in. We do so many of these, and they are so good. We yet to have bad experience with them. They just really help us design what the milestones look like within your marketing ecosystem to identify what to do at which point in time. Now, this is, again, something that we just see businesses tripping up on all the time. They just go and do all these things in the wrong order, and it ends up just turning into this shit show. Do the things in the right order, guys. It's a strategy. Get the strategy. And if you want one, again, head across to tradiewebguys.com.au and you can book yourself into our impact roadmap. Anyway, I hope that was helpful, guys. Again, these are observations that we see regularly over at the agency, and something that I wanted to communicate out to all of you guys all across the world when it comes to, trade businesses, contracting businesses, and things that you can do to improve anything to do with sales and marketing. There's going to be a lot more content coming out on this, on similar relatable topics, things we see day to day. So make sure, if you're tuning in for the first time, please subscribe to the channel so that you get notified of up and coming episodes. And I look forward to chatting to you in one of those. Ciao. Hey guys and girls, how would you like all of the value adds left behind from our podcast guest all put together in the one spot? We've pulled every tool together, every template, every resource shared on the show, and we've packed them all into the Tradie Academy. It's free to join, and it's built by the team behind the Site Shed and Tradie Web Guys. Inside, you'll get marketing tips, business tools, and first access to future resources, all in one simple dashboard. Just head across to tradie.wiki/pod. That's tradie.wiki/pod. The link's in the episode description. And once again, you just log in once and then you're all set. And if you want to get notified of upcoming episodes, hit subscribe or follow.